Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves.
It is Tuesday, all you minties. That means it's time to take an advanced look at all these collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. I am the Uncanny Omar. You are watching Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today we are looking at Marvel collected editions coming out the week of July 15th or 16th, depending on where you get your books. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So we are looking at books that are coming out July 15th or 16th of 2025 from Marvel Comics. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us copies of each and every one of these books. So we do have a different selection of books here. We have a new Epic collection, we have a new Masterworks, hashtag save the Masterworks, and we've got a thickie right here of a classic long out of print trade paperback that actually this is the two trade paperbacks that were out of print collected in this big book. Books that were released before in Treasury Edition, brand new series or mini-series rather. And of course, as always, I leave in the description of the video timestamps so you can jump around in case you're just wondering about one or two books or don't want any kind of spoilers. And as always, I do leave a seal of approval on a particular book. What's gonna get it this week? Ooh, this was tough because there were some good books released this week. All right, let's actually go ahead and start with, let's talk about that Alien Black, White, and Blood. Alien Black, White, and Blood. This book has been previously released as, of course, single issues and Treasury Edition. But this time around, it is a trade paperback. And it collects 136 pages worth of material, collecting all 4 issues of the Alien Black, White, and Blood, and retailing for $17.99. So this one is unique because of two reasons. Number one, there is a story that continues through all 4 of these books by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. Most of the time, this is an anthology series. You only need to read one issue with 3 different stories, but this one has the Utopia story, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a second. And also, in the first issue, they add another element. So most of these books are black, white, and red. That's what they're called, right? Like what? Red being the blood, of course. But I think it was Vader and Darth Maul that was black, white, and red, but all of the other ones have been black, white, and blood. So usually just using the black, white, and the red for the blood. But if you're a fan of Alien movies, you know their blood is not red. So what happens in the first issue? We are introduced to a new color. So Utopia, this is the one by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, Michael Dowling doing the art with colors by Chris Sotomayor. And it's the one that will continue with each of the issues. It focuses on these crew members of the Union of Progressive People ship. And I think I've talked about this before. I had to have, because it is really funny how some of these people are offended, having to work together, and then they all have to fight off against the xenomorphs. Well, this is where they get a distress call, and they have to go to the Weyland-Yutani craft. And that's, of course, where we see a bunch of xenomorphs. So this is the loophole that they use. Because the alien blood is green, we have the color green added to the stories. And this here is just exactly that. It's an anthology of different eras of Alien, from the different times that the xenomorphs have been around in the movies. It doesn't have really any of the movie characters. They're all standalone stories with the exception of the Utopia ongoing story. And then there's 2 stories in each issue too. So it's a total of 8 different stories. Well, 9, including the Utopia story that spreads across each and every one of the issues. Mature content, or I guess the parental advisory right here. And some of the characters will survive, some will not. Some of them are Marines and trained to deal with xenomorphs. Others are just normal people that just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And for the most part, that's what this is about. So let's let me actually give you a small taste, because I talked about the Utopia book, but the next story in here is called The Hunt. This is by Stephanie Phillips and Marcelo Ferreira doing the artwork here. This right here starts off with a bunch of the Marines getting ready to fight the Xenomorphs, of course, for the Weyland-Yutani group. And as it turns out, they're not quite Marines. There's a twist to that, who they really are. So I thought that was really cool, and the artwork is just awesome. It looks a lot different than the art in the other stories that are collected in here. But that kind of gives you an idea as to what this is in case you haven't read them. You don't need to have really read anything before this or after this. Just have a small understanding as to who the Xenomorphs are, what these aliens are. And then, of course, all the way in the back, we do have some of the variant covers. Sometimes the variant covers are in between issues. But that is Alien, Black, White, and Blood, 136 pages, $17.99. Mystique, Most Wanted. We are now in the From the Ashes era, and this is a mini-series. And I'm not sure if it started off as a mini-series. I don't think there's anything past this, although it ends in a... It ends on an open ending, right? Like it's open-ended, and you can go back and revisit this. But this is the From the Ashes era, so spoilers for previously what happened in Krakoa. Not going into detail, of course. But the nation of Krakoa, it's done. Mutants are now scattered about the world. And Mystique is such an interesting mutant because she's played both this side of the angels, the side of the demons, and then, of course, kind of the middle ground type of character when she was part of the Freedom Force. As a matter of fact, you get terrorist, freedom fighter, assassin, hero, mutant, raven, Darkholme, can be anything you want her to be, except predictable. Declan Shalvey writing and doing the art in here, with Clayton Cowles on lettering and Matt Hollingsworth on colors. This is the idea that Mystique is out there on the run, and she is wanted by the government for different reasons, of course. We start off in Germany here a couple of weeks ago, where we have Maverick leading a group of people going after Sabretooth. And as it turns out, Maverick starts bleeding, and one of the soldiers is like, wait a second. You're not supposed to be bleeding. That's not part of your powers. You're her. You're Mystique. And Maverick's like, you idiot. Turns out Mystique was one of the soldiers, and they are maybe going after Sabretooth. But the basic premise behind this is that Nick Fury is going after her. He's trying to find her. He's trying to find her whereabouts. And a lot of this, of course, is being approved by Nick's father, Nick Fury, the original Nick Fury. And just talking about how conniving she can be, how deceiving she can be, and how easy she is to lose, because she can adapt to any of her surroundings, and her mutant power gives her that ability to, of course, morph into whomever she wants. I do love this throwback here to the Weapon X series when she's talking to Maverick. So that's what this is. Nick Fury gets some of his agents involved, including Maria Hill and a couple of other people from the new, this is the new S.H.I.E.L.D., by the way. While the main goal for Mystique is to try to find Destiny. Where is she? Who has her? So she gathers forces with some of her past friends, or I guess not really friends, more like comrades, more like teammates. I don't really think she was friends with Avalanche or Pyro, if you will. But yeah, the whole mystery is like, where is she? And how can she help her escape? And then Nick Fury is going after Mystique. So it's almost like a cat and mouse game of searching for each other, and still her trying to find her place in this new world, because it's like a spy story with some twists and turns, especially when you have a character that can change into anyone that she wants to. And you have Nick Fury, the spy who spies on spies, being a little confused and thrown off about where to find her exactly, and who she could possibly be next, and what her next mission is going to be, while still kind of having the upper hand and knowing that she's going to try to find Destiny somewhere. So it makes for a really interesting type of spy story, one that we haven't seen in a while with the character of Mystique, because Mystique, again, has been playing such a big part in the pages of X-Men for a while, since, well, I guess 5 years in Krakoa. This puts her in a different place in the world. This feels a little bit more like maybe it's just because I just reread the Jason Aaron era of Wolverine, of the, I guess, Get Mystique story. So twists and turns with some spy flair into the stories. And then in the back, we do have some variant covers. So this is the 5-issue miniseries, 128 pages, and retailing for $17.99. And some of the thumbnails here are variant covers, and then you have full splash page. I love the Disney-fied look to the X-Men characters. Namor, Last King of Atlantis. This is the new Namor series. It's been a while since we've had one. As a matter of fact, it's been a while since we've kind of seen Namor play a big role in everything. It does not have the new From the Ashes trade dress, so it's not really an X-Men book, even though perhaps you might see some mutants show up through here. Written by Jason Aaron, Paul Davidson is the artist with Alex Lins, because there's 2 different times that we're going to be looking at. Niraj Menon is the colorist, and then Joe Caramagna doing the lettering. And here we go with issue number 1, kicking it off with this imprisoned Namor. This is collecting all 8 issues, 264 pages, and retailing for $34.99. So somewhere in the Southern Ocean, in the Atlantean Sea of Set, is the Sea Cage prison. And in the Sea Cage prison is where the character of Namor is imprisoned for crimes against humanity. Now, Jason Aaron has written a lot of dark stories in the past, like whether it was Scalped or some of the Punisher Max stuff that he did. And Namor needs liquid substance to survive. What the guards do is they urinate in a bucket and they give it to him as his liquid substance, so he has enough to survive a day. It's that kind of treatment that he's getting in prison, and we'll come back to that. Now, there's a flashback, and that's what this is. This is a juxtaposition of, like, you have the classic, a young Namor growing up, getting into a little bit of his teenage years, and all the way up until he reaches, like, early adulthood. And then you have the new Namor, or the older Namor, the one that has been jaded by humanity and jaded by his own people in a way, that he is now imprisoned. The young kid is trying to find out who he is and trying to find friends, right? Because, well, unfortunately of his mixed race that he is, he gets treated differently down there. Like the people that are these kids that he thought were friends were just playing a game with him, but it's Namor, so he kind of is one step of the game. So eventually we do have people from Atlantis trying to break him out of prison, or one would think so. But instead of breaking him out of prison, what they're really here to do is to try to kill him. So this breakout scene showcases exactly Namor's type of strength and the type of power that he has, and almost like the sense of fear that he drives to his own people. And instead of escaping after they try to, kill him, he decides to turn himself in and walk back to his cell because he wants to do his time. He is opposed. I love that Stingray shows up here. So Stingray shows up and informs him that there is now kind of a big split in the seas, right? Since Namor has been in prison, he was targeted because Atlantis and the nation states are almost like broken up. They're all in this world of shambles since Namor has kind of given up the throne. So instead of one king to rule these seas, they now have 7 different tribes and kings that are all trying to get into Namor's throne. And if you've read, the Song of Ice and Fire, it will become Game of Thrones. It's very similar to that without going that dark, right? Because we are still talking about a Marvel character. But what ends up happening is there's a civil war, and that's why some of these people are trying to kill him. So this war, as a matter of fact, he calls it here, he says this war that is happening in the seas is called the World War C. So when Namor's time is up and he has paid his due, he's free to go. He returns to the sea. where he swears that he will go back to Atlantis and restore it back to what it once was. So the flashbacks work as a way to introduce us to like some new characters, some of the supporting cast, some characters that we've seen in his past comic books, and also some new characters we might see here as adults and will play a big part through this World War C. So that's what this is about. It's about Namor trying to find his place in this new world after leaving the throne, and also him growing from childhood to adulthood, all the way until you get to see him join like the invaders. So it's a really... Actually, it's a very Jason Aaron type of story that we're reading through here. If you enjoyed things like his Wolverine, or his Punisher Max, or even his independent stuff like Scalp, or his new Ninja Turtles run, that's what this feels like. And I love the two different artists that they're working just well together to tell one story in two different times. Because eventually, you know where this is going. You know that both stories are going to meet. Now, in the back, we do have, of course... like most of the time, we have some variant covers back here. Some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are in between issues. And ridiculous as like, there's not a single scene in the book that looks like this. But yes, variant covers all the way back here. And that is Namor, the last king of Atlantis. U.S.Avengers. Oh, man. This was hard because I love this series. I was rooting for this to be collected in an omnibus format with New Avengers by Al Ewing. Who knows, maybe one day. But this has been out of print. It's been collected before in 2 different trade paperbacks. And it came really close to getting my seal of approval. But it was difficult. It was a difficult week with all... there's some really good books. Al Ewing writing all the stories here. Paco Medina, Carlo Barberi, and Alex Arizmendi are the pencilers. Juan Blasco, Carlo Barberi, and Alex Arizmendi doing the inks, and Jesus Arbutov and others doing the colors. And then you have lettering by Chris Alepolis and Joe Caramagna. This collects all of U.S. Avengers 1 through 12, 272 pages, $34.99. Who in the world are the U.S. Avengers? Well, we are going to find out together. This is an era of Avengers that takes place after Jonathan Hickman and happens right before we kick off the new omnibus that I announced, the No Surrender, No Way Home, or No Road Home. So the premise behind this is really cool. We saw Sunspot and Cannonball kind of grow in the pages of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers, right? Like grow outside of New Mutants. In here, this is really cool. Sam and Berto are still friends, and Roberto, Sunspot, no longer really being kind of like the big powerhouse of the group, no longer being the muscle. He's using his money to work with, of all people, AIM, to build a new type of Avengers team, a new type of team. It's now the American Intelligence Mechanics is what AIM stands for. And he has gathered his own team of characters. My favorite one is Dr. Tony. Oh, I love her character. She is the Iron Patriot. There's other characters too, like Enigma right here. And then, of course, established characters in the Marvel Universe, like Doreen Green, Squirrel Girl. You have this character right here of the Hulk. I'm pretty sure most people probably know now who the Red Hulk is. And, of course, Cannonball jumping in here. Who else is there? Oh, and there is a Captain America from another timeline, a possible future, but I think it's 30 years into the future, that has traveled here. And then the Golden Skull being kind of like the antagonist of the first few issues. But that's what this is. This is a new team of Avengers at the same time that there were other series going on that this was happening, like, what was it, Captain America and the Avengers. But I need to work on my Avengers reading order. This will be in part 3. Yeah, this will be in part 3 of the Avengers reading order. I've broken it up into 3 parts. And for the people that are like, oh, well, you know, we've seen the movie A Brave New World. I know who the Red Hulk is. Just when you get used to that character being the Red Hulk, let's just say that it's not the same Red Hulk through here. So the first story arc, of course, takes us to the Golden Skull story. And then it's kind of split up because then the other half of the book it feels like it was leading into this era of Secret Empire, which was this big event that was happening in the pages of Captain America, where some of the things are being switched around. And not everything, it seems... How do I word this without spoiling Secret Empire and talking about the last 6 issues here? It's almost like an alternate reality type of story that Secret Empire led to. If you remember the picture of Captain America, Hell Hydra, there's a lot of that happening through these pages, so you don't know exactly what is real and what isn't and what it's got to do with. But the characters will be showing up through here. There's a Captain Britain and his team shows up through here. And yeah, it's just so good. There's dynamic between Sam and Berto that I haven't seen since the pages of... actually, X-Force, like Fabian Niciez's X-Force. And I love the chemistry between both characters. Roberto really shines through here. So if you're a Sunspot character, like you love that character, this book is phenomenal and hardly gets talked about when talking about Avengers. The new character of Tony Ho, oh my gosh, I love the character. Love her power armor and love who she is. And it makes me wish this has gone on more than 12 issues. But that's giving you a small pitch as to what this is exactly in the back. Oh, that's right. We're given the variant covers. The variant covers, each issue had like a flag. Like what Avenger represents what state through here. So I'm sure much like I did, you looked for the state that you live in. And of course, my state is represented by none other than Cannonball. Oh, yeah. But variant covers and sketches in the back. And then, oh, this is the coming this year. After the first issue, I think. So, the book back in print, this time all in one. 272 pages, $34.99. And it is that time of the video where we take a look at the spines of the books coming out this week. And also a small reminder to hit that like button, please. Goes a long way for us here on the channel. Small thing you can do. But really, really, it does mean a lot to us. All right, let's continue with the overviews of these books. Iron Man, Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 5, The New Iron Age. So we are looking at a continuation of the Matt Fraction and also Salvador La Roca stories, and Carmine Di Domenico doing the art for that Invincible Iron Man annual number 1. But this collects Invincible Iron Man 500, the A story, 500.1, 501 to 509, Invincible Iron Man annual number 1, and then Fear Itself 7.3. These stories here have been printed before in thin trade paperbacks. I don't think any of these made it to the big oversized hardcover. The book has 408 pages and retails for $49.99. The very first issue that is collected here is the annual and focuses less on Iron Man and so much more so on Mandarin. It is about a filmmaker who is forced into producing the life story of none other than Mandarin. And of course, how Mandarin has his goons, like, ending, like, up and kidnapping him and just making him look like the better person than what Iron Man makes him out to be. How, of course, in his story, he is the hero of his own story. And again, Carmine Di Domenico doing this, who went on to do a lot of the artwork in the all-new X Factor book. And then we continue the story of Iron Man again by Matt Fraction, and of course, artwork by Salvador La Roca through here. And this is Tony Stark going to like an AA meeting in that 500.1 issue. And it's just kind of like a really, like, almost like a bottle episode type of story in there. It's more of an emotional push instead of like all out action that we're used to. We still have characters like Rescue that are a big part of these stories here. And we are going to see him dealing with some of his classic villains. Now, the big thing that this is all, or will lead to, is the Fear Itself. But before we get to Fear Itself, this is the 500.1, we have the big fight against Doc Ock and some of the Sinister Six. So this is during the time in Spider-Man's life when Doc Ock was sick and he was dying. So he is trying to find a cure, and he's trying to get the help of none other than Tony Stark to help him find a cure. Now, he's joined by Electro and Sandman, who have kind of kidnapped Tony Stark into helping him get cured. And Dr. Octopus has like this bomb that he's about to detonate, and Tony's trying to like beg for the life of others. And that's what that, I think it's only 3 issues before we get into the next story arc right here. And that next story arc will be the Fear Itself story. Now, what they do through here, when you start the Fear Itself arc, right here, they give you like a previously in Fear Itself. So Fear Itself is not collected here. As a matter of fact, Fear Itself only has the 7.3 issue with the Aftermath. This is about the coming of the gods and the weapons that they've released on Earth here. But it ties heavily into Iron Man because Iron Man played a big part in Fear Itself. This is, by the way, after a big attack in Paris. It's all explained through here, where the Great Gargoyle is in Paris, France, and something big happens here. So the story is that, or I guess Iron Man's part in that is that he interacts with Odin, and he is given the task of constructing these weapons for this war that is about to take place. And of course, he is working with the dwarves in another realm. And then we have something awful that ends up happening on our realm while he is away. And again, Pepper Potts during this time is Rescue, who honestly gets a lot of the big fights through this miniseries here. And it all comes to a head in the pages of Fear Itself, which is, of course, a 7-issue event. But it's talked about here. They don't really show you what's happening there. You only get a small piece of what's happening. What you get is the aftermath with issue 7.3, and that might actually spoil some of the things that happen within Fear Itself. So let's look at the extras here in the back. So what you may want to do, in case you really want to read the event, just like, you know, New Avengers doesn't really collect the events, this doesn't either. So we have variant covers back here to 500, 501, 502, the annual, and then the cover gallery for all 500 issues of Iron Man, including the 500th or 500th issue? 500th issue. Oh my gosh, Uncanny Omar talk pretty one day. 500th. Sorry, this is one of the last videos I'm recording before I'm taking off for 7 days. So this is 408 pages, $49.99. Marvel Masterworks, Captain America, Volume 17. Oh my gosh, we are in for an amazing treat with the stories collected in here. Like all the other Masterworks, the faux leather look to it, the dust jacket, what it collects, your title page right here, and then of course the credits. J.M. DeMatteis writing the stories here, Christopher Priest writing the Falcon miniseries, Peter B. Gillis writing Annual 7, Mike Zeck supplying a majority of the art, Mark Bright, Paul Smith, Sal Buscema, Brian Postman, and then your inkers like John Beatty's inks on Mike Zeck are perfect. Mike Zeck actually inking issue 289 in here. Also Vince Coletta, and letters like Diane Albers, colors like Bob Sharon, and your table of contents in here. So collected in here is Captain America 281 to 289, annual number 7, and Falcon 1 through 4 from 1983. 368 pages, $75. And we have a beautiful introduction here from J.M. DeMatteis. The first part is talking about Mark Grunwald. He did the same thing with the previous introduction, but this one dives a little deeper as to why Mark was so important, why he was so easy to work for sometimes, and how he knew to give you your space as a writer to kind of find your own voice for these characters, because one of the things he talks about is the behind the scenes of probably what is my favorite story that is collected in here. So we have during this time, of course, Captain America dating Bernie right here. But one of the other important things that happens during this era is that we have the return of Jack Monroe. As a matter of fact, he's actually given a name in this issue. The Bucky from the 50s comes back, and he's teaming up with Captain America, and Captain America learns his name. And this character, Jack Monroe, will move on to become Nomad. So during this issue right here with the fight with the Constrictor, after Captain America is knocked out and needs some help, here comes the character of Nomad to help him out. And they'll be having a partnership through here. When he's teaming up with Nomad to take down the character of the Constrictor and Viper through these issues. Again, wonderful artwork by Mike Zeck through these pages right here. Sharon Carter coming back for this particular story right here. So, you have a lot of the tie-ins with, or I mean, I guess, stories that contain S.H.I.E.L.D. in here, and a lot of these Captain America and Nomad stories through here. And Dum Dum Dugan, with this issue right here, getting hurt, and this relationship between Bernie, like, I think in the intro, J.M. DeMatteis actually talks about how Bernie was, like, one of his favorite creations, like, to him. I didn't think about that, but, you know, anytime she appeared, especially, I just reread the Captain America by Mark Gruenwald stories. Anytime she would reappear, I did get excited. I'm like, oh, Bernie's back. There was just something special about her. You have the fight with the Porcupine through here. We've got his meeting with the Patriot. This is the annual right here with what is this guy's name? Wundar. Now he's not alone because there's a villain that comes back through these pages that I did not expect to see. But what gives this book my seal of approval, why I love this book so much, is this story right here. This is the Deathlock Live story. And oh my gosh, I could not find these issues. It's got the very iconic cover right there. I love that cover. Mike Zeck. This to me was Mike Zeck and John Beatty just firing on all cylinders. And it's your Punisher type of story, right? But oh, it is so good. It's about this dystopian New York of I think it's 1993, right? Where we have a character of Deathlock that comes back and travels back in time. So he's kind of time displaced. So Deathlock and Captain America are tasked with eliminating this, what is the character? It's a cyborg called Hellinger, who rules in this dystopian 1993 future. So, man, it is so freaking awesome just to have the character of Deathlock show up through here and teaming up with Captain America, and just in a weird way too, like this cyborg super soldier that's a lot different enlists the help of Captain America to save his future, and Captain America really doesn't know whether to trust him or not. And this future war is what J.M. DeMatteis was having a hard time trying to figure out exactly how to write it, because he had to find a voice for this character of Deathlock. And that's what makes this so unique, and I think why it stands out through all these years. And I used to have this really, like, crappy trade paperback that was, I want to say it was just like 3 issues. It was these 3 issues. So yes, it's all the story of Deathlock, Luther Manning. And this is, again, before the Jason Aaron stuff, or before you had multiple Deathlocks, before you had the Deathlock of Uncanny X-Force. It was Luther Manning and just time traveling. Believe it or not, it's kind of simple compared to the way the stories are done these days. Then we are greeted with the 4-issue miniseries right here of The Falcon. So you have Paul Smith doing the first issue, and then you've got Mark Bright doing the next 3 issues right here. So you've got the Falcon fighting borrowed villains in here, and then some of his new villains. But most of the time, there are borrowed villains from other Marvel characters. And of course, Captain America making an appearance through here. And it is Christopher Priest that writes these particular stories. In the back, we do have original cover. Now, this has been collected in... The stories in here, I know, have been collected in Epic Collection. They have not been collected in omnibus format. Yeah, this is the trade paperback I used to have. Wow, that's old. 1993, because I could not find those issues. I always liked them. I love that cover. 286, I think, is a very iconic cover. 284 is freaking beautiful, too. So, original pieces of art, and then the biographies and other Marvel Masterworks. But That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of these books. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking these up, if you are waiting for an omnibus edition of all of these one day, or if you have never read any of them and you buy your books as trade paperbacks or collected editions, and this is the way you read your stories. But that is it, everybody. Smash that like button on the way out. Check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.